Well, welcome everyone. We are so excited for you to be joining us this morning. My name is Marie Krulewitch-Browne. I am the Executive and Artistic Director for ISH. Some of you may be familiar with ISH from our ISH Festival programs, which are biennial community arts and culture festival. We have another one planned next September. Don't worry, we come every other year, so we got lucky with COVID. But we're so excited to be joining you this morning through our new program series, Issues, and our partnership with Northern Hills Synagogue for this feature with Julie Pentelnik, who many of you I'm sure know and already love, but hopefully this morning's presentation gives you an inside look into Julie's previous work, her artwork process as an artist, and throughout the morning, Julie and I will be engaging in some kind of organic conversation. I've got some questions prepared that I'd like to ask her, but certainly as we get going with the presentation, Sam, maybe you can help us out. If you have questions about Julie's work and you'd like to drop those in the chat, please feel free to do so. We'd love for you to interact and engage with us. So without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Julie Pentelnik. Julie, good morning.
Good morning. I'm really excited to be doing this with everyone and to share what I've been doing for most of my life. So thank you very much for having me and for sharing this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So Julie, I want to start by asking you about the birth of your art practice. When did you first recognize yourself as an artist?
Probably my whole life. I've been told that my father entered one of my drawings when I was 2 years old into some neighborhood art competition and I won a silver dollar. So I think I was hooked at that point. And I really can't remember not doing artwork. I do know that many kids who probably pretended to be sick so they didn't have to go to school on some days, I pretended that I was feeling well if I was sick, and I knew that was an art class day because I didn't want to miss my art class with Mrs. Holmberg.
Oh.
So I've really identified as being an artist my whole life, and always love color, working with my hands and creating, and it's been something forever. So
that's awesome. That's a beautiful story, Julie. Thank you. So we've got some images on the screen up of your portfolio work and past work. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of this will be recognizable as connecting to Judaism and dare I say Judaic art. So can you tell us how does Judaism and your Jewish identity, either spiritual, religious, or cultural, how does it inform your artwork?
I've always considered myself a Judaic artist. I would say, I started in college learning commercial art, the techniques, all the things in the art world. And really, once I started my Judaic business, that was where my focus went, and just finding ways with my art to enhance. There's something called Hidur Mitzvah, and that's the embellishment of a mitzvah. And I felt that if I could create items of Judaica, Jewish paintings, Jewish print work, I wanted to be able to let people include artwork in their homes in a way that was contemporary, beautiful, having Judaica without feeling that it was old, relating to old world, feeling that you could still live in today's world and have a Jewish decorated home, a Jewish environment, using items of Judaica in your home that made you feel connected and made you happy.
That's awesome. Thank you, Julie. So you identify yourself as a Jewish artist. What does that mean to you? What does it mean to be a Jewish artist?
I took notes about this yesterday, and now I can't even remember what I said.
Go off the cuff.
Off the cuff. I think it means that when I do my art, I do feel connected to wanting to use elements of Judaica, quotes, images, parts of nature, things that make me feel like I'm in a Jewish world. And so when I do my pieces, as you're seeing some of them on the screen right now, I have images of things, I create things, I base my work on things that means something to me in my Jewish life. And having been raising my family with Jewish education and with doing holidays and Shabbat and making sure we have a Jewish household has really spoken to my doing the Jewish work that I do. And the Ketubot especially, I always feel that if I can make something for someone that brings them in and feels connected to living Jewishly and our Jewish heritage, then I feel that I'm sharing something of myself with them, which is really nice.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for that. I'm seeing some little chat blinks pop up, but I can't see what they are. Have we gotten any questions before I go on?
Do we look at that ourselves, or does Rabbi Shaffer have that? Or
Sam, are you able to check?
We do not have any questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm seeing blinking lights. I just want to make sure that we're not missing anyone out. Amazing. So, Julie, I think we're going to be looking at your Katuba work and talking about process. But before we jump into that, I'm curious, how do you think, or do you believe that your work has evolved throughout your art practice, your art career? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. I started work when I, moved out and got married and all, moved to Cincinnati. My first job was actually at Kings Island. I was in their signage design department, designing sign work for the park, and I would tool around in a little golf cart and take measurements, and I felt very official. But I graduated to a commercial art studio, and I was really more in the commercial business end, doing design, package design and things for Procter & Gamble and all sorts of wonderful things. But when I started my family, I wanted to work from home. I found out daycare was the best option for me, but initially I thought, oh, I'll keep my child at home, I'll do my work. I started my own business doing flyers and cards and different things, and started getting more toward the Jewish world, doing things for the JCC. And I had done my own Ketubah when Stephen and I got married. That was the first one that I had done. It was very simple, very basic. And then I did one a few years later for my sister-in-law. And I found I really liked it. And so I slowly started getting into doing Ketubahs by word of mouth. And my business developed from there, and doing the Ketubah work and doing different pieces that tied in with doing my artwork, tied in with the Judaic and the Ketubah work, and it just developed from there. As far as style, I've always loved the painting. I learned calligraphy for my own Ketubah and developed that, and just really taught myself. In college, I took a calligraphy course for English, and the teacher didn't know anything about Hebrew. However, he knew shape, form, style, and he would approve what I did. And actually one of my husband Stephen's Hebrew teachers was in that course, and she was able to help me with some of the Hebrew. And so I really developed my Hebrew calligraphy through that. And over the years, I've just expanded my styles with learning. When someone asks me, can I do something in this style or that style, I take it as a personal challenge. I taught myself how to do paper cut work. I taught myself how to do the silk screen work. I've done Ketubot that look more like a stained glass window because someone wanted something like that. So I really do push myself to try to expand the work that I do with the materials that I use. Mostly I work with ink, Bombay India inks, which work like watercolors, but the colors are far more intense, and I just love it. I love color, so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'm really excited for us to dig in here specifically to your Katuba process. You've mentioned that that's a huge part of your business as an artist. So I understand we've got some images taking us through kind of various steps. So what are we looking at here?
These are sketches that when a couple asks me about a Ketubah, we have an in-depth conversation, sometimes via, video chat, sometimes just over the phone, sharing what they care about, what means something to them. If they have photographs to share with me, they'll share that. And from there, after our pretty much in-depth discussion, I send them sketches, usually 2 or 3 sketches. So here was one rough sketch. Here's another rough sketch that incorporate the ideas of things that they shared with me and things that had meaning to them and ways that I interpreted different ideas. And you can see they're all very different. And then there's one more sketch coming up that shows, this is another sketch that incorporated all the different images. And then based on what they've seen and our discussions afterwards, I come up with a tighter design. And that's what this is here, showing the final tightened pencil design that they have approved and they want for their Ketubah image. And the Ketubahs are about 2 to 3 feet, depending on what shape and size they are. This one is probably almost 2 feet square. And then from this, once this is approved and they're happy with that, I do a color plan and I work with Prisma colored pencils. And I don't see that in here, but that's what I send them, a colored sketch. I do a rough layout because you have to actually get the text to fit in the space, especially this one being a circle. I had to make sure it came out, worked roughly, and they had an image they wanted behind the text. So that's what this is here on the right. That is a picture of them.
Julie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you do your sketch work, do you start sketching like to scale? So are your sketches about 2 feet by 2 feet, or do you?
Oh, no. I work just like on a drawing pad, 9 by 12, and I work my sketches very small. And the nice thing is I have a projector, so when I get my tightened drawing to size, when I get it completed, I have a USB drive. I plug it into my projector and shine it on the wall, and I can blow it up to exact size and draw it down to get my work going.
Oh, that's so smart.
So it's very hard to work that big in rough sketch form, but once I get it drawn down, then I am working full size.
Totally. So Julie, can you tell us a little bit more about the text here? I would guess that many people on this call are familiar with this source text and what it refers to and what it means, but it's possible that we have people joining us who aren't so familiar.
Sure. This text is a traditional Ketubah text. And a Ketubah is a few thousand years old. It was really considered the first Bill of Rights for women, because when a document like this was done several thousand years ago, women were kind of property. And when a husband tired of them, fine, she was gone. And what this did was it gave them the security that a husband had responsibilities and obligations. And so this is not really a romantic document, even though many people nowadays do look at it as such, but it's more a legal document. A ketubah literally means her writ, her document. And the text here is actually interesting because the couple is in Israel. And so it's a little bit different than the traditional text that we have in the States, whereas in the States we have a ketubah and we have a marriage license. This ketubah is the ketubah and the marriage license. And so it was very interesting for me to learn, as I was given the information for the text, that there were actual legal values and shekel amounts and things like that that went into this ketubah. And you can see there are 3 signature lines here in the text, because there are the 2 witnesses which are required traditionally. And there are also at the bottom, it says, also I, the groom, approve of all of this and sign my name here as a guaranteeing that I approve of this information. So this was a different one that I chosen as an example. Many of them are in traditional Hebrew, many of them are in Hebrew and English. I've done a few that are just in English, and it really is to make sure that the couple feels happy with what they have.
Amazing, thank you. So we're slowly seeing this incredible work evolve, right? We started with multiple sketches, couple made their decision, you work on laying out text, and then rough color work, and we're starting to see this incredible piece come to life.
It does come to life, and I paint it as it comes to I paint it in stages. You can see here, this is my desk, messy and comfortable and just as I like to work. And this one is, I would say, close to finished, but not quite. I have still some border work and things like that, but you can see the process as it comes together. And then this should be it. This is the completed image. and what they got to sign at their wedding.
Amazing. So I have an interesting question. Maybe it was new to me that traditionally Ketubot were, considered really like the woman's writ. So then is that the reason why the woman or female partner does not sign the Ketubah traditionally?
Traditionally, no partner signs the ketubah. The only requirement are 2 witnesses. This Israeli one is different. I think, again, I'm not sure why the bride did not sign it, but the Israeli document is very different, and there was a line for the groom to sign it. Traditionally, all that's required are 2 witnesses. They shouldn't be related, and traditionally they should be Sabbath observant. Things are very different now, and in terms of different of what's appropriate and what each rabbi will approve to be for a ketubah, for a wedding that they are officiating. Sometimes the rabbi is one of the witnesses. Sometimes there are 2 witnesses and the rabbi. Sometimes the bride and groom do sign. Sometimes there are 4 witnesses. So the traditional accepted way for what has been considered the traditional ketubah has been 2 witnesses, but now I've done some with 7 or 8 signatures on them.
Oh, wow.
I did one a few years back, and there was 155 signatures. Everybody at the wedding signed it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it was Jewish and Quaker combined, and the Quaker tradition is to have everybody sign. And so I had 155 lines going down it. It was pretty cool to see it finished with all the signatures on there. I was actually pretty pleased
Well,
with
I
that.
would imagine, if you consider the multiple generations that might be attending a wedding, that document then lives on as evidence of your family and
Sure.
people celebrating in your simcha, even, maybe when they've passed on. That's beautiful. I love
It
that.
becomes
That's
really a
Quaker
family
tradition.
heirloom if you think about it.
So cool. I'm seeing some chat blinks, so I want to take a pause here and welcome some questions.
So we have just one question, and that question is the piece that you're just talking about where 150 people signed. How big was that?
Good question.
I would say, not remembering the exact dimensions, it was probably about 20 inches wide by about 24 high. The artwork was pretty simple. It was just a simple chuppah design that went up and down the sides, and with Ani Lidodi and a very short text, and then all the signatures below. And I think it was 3 columns. And so it was really very, very fun for me to do, because I felt that I had something new that I was sharing with somebody who really wanted something meaningful. And as I said, I like to learn with what I'm doing, and was able to get something out of it as well. And I was happy about that. But yeah, they're all, unless somebody wants something really, really small or really, really huge, they're all in the approximately 20 to 28 inch range or something like that. And
Awesome. Any other questions before I think we're going to share a couple more examples so that everyone can get a feel for the diversity of kind of style and color use. I mean, what strikes me is, from the previous work samples we looked at, and then certainly with these Ketubot, they're all so unique. And yet I'm seeing this repeated symbol, and I'm sure there's meaning behind it, of sphere and circle. Can you talk to us more about that?
a lot of people really like a circular text. You can see the one on the left is all in the traditional Hebrew Aramaic, and there's also a lot of signatures there. The one on the right is in Hebrew and in English. And so again, that's what we talked about, the difference between options of different texts. But the circle, people like the shape, the continuity, the circle of life. There's a lot that I have that have the circular text, and people really do like it. Some people like more of the square or organic. There's organic shapes where the text might follow the shape of the image, and they're all very different. You can see like these two here have more of an organic shape, partially rectangular, partially oval. The one on the right actually is the Katuba of my oldest daughter in Portland, Oregon. So.
Oh, That's awesome.
And but so there's different ways. The circular text does have a symbolic meaning of the circle of life and continuity, but part of it is just design element.
Gotcha.
You can see this one here, the text is in the shape of the Magen David, so.
I love that. Can you tell us a little bit more about this piece? It looks like there's some really contemporary imagery and symbols here.
Yes, this couple wanted a lot of meaning to the places that they have lived and the places that have meaning to them. The groom was in the Marines, the bride was in circus work, and so you can see his uniform there, her doing the silks, and then all the places around here. You can have the world at the bottom, and you have Baltimore and Washington, D.C., and Amsterdam, and Germany, and Rome, and the upper right corner is the temple in Savannah, Georgia, where they got married.
Oh, wow.
So there was just a lot of different symbols and meaning, and it was really fun to create all these different images. Each one was, in a sense, a mini work of art for the piece. And this piece is pretty big. I would say it's about 30 inches square.
Okay. Yeah, wow, Julie, the detail that you're able to capture here, the super tight line work, is really impressive.
Thank you. I do like doing detail work. I also like doing, you know, color mixing. So like the globe at the bottom or the earth was just color blending, and that was fun too. So
yeah, beautiful. And I'm seeing, you know, in a couple of these, and maybe it's an artistic choice within all of them, I've not been keeping good track, but the illumination, the components where you've got gold leaf, I'm guessing, or tell us about
some
that.
of it is real gold leaf. You can see the one on the left, the sparkle and shine, is actual real 23 karat gold leaf. The one on the right, the gold, is more of a painted metallic gold ink, which is also beautiful, and it's partially preference of the couple, partially budget related and things like that, because I do want to work with people to make sure that they're comfortable with what a ketubah would cost. So we work and we talk budget to make sure that I don't stretch beyond what their budget will allow, and they also don't expect me to do more than what my time constraint will allow for their budget. It's a fair thing. I mean, it's funny to talk about the finances of it, but that's part of the design. So
Totally.
yeah. And the one on the left is on handmade paper, which is kind of cool. I didn't make it, but I still love it.
That's awesome. So we are in this very interesting and, dare I say, challenging moment in time when the effects of COVID-19 and the pandemic have certainly been disruptive,
yes,
to say the least. So I understand that you, as an artist and a creator of artwork associated with weddings, have also been uniquely impacted by COVID.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. When this first started in probably the middle of March, it didn't officially affect me because I didn't realize how long this would draw out. At the initial, I think many of us at the beginning thought, oh, this will be, you know, a couple of months of inconvenience and then life will go back to normal. And obviously we were wrong in that thought. I had several Katuba projects in the works, many different weddings going on, and something planned for May and something planned for June and something for early July and October, and all of them were getting delayed. And so like the one that was supposed to have been July 2nd is now going to be June 13th of next year. And a couple other ones one that was Labor Day weekend is now Labor Day weekend of next year. So those things are on hold, and I had started sketch work, and we've discussed that, you know, 6 months before the wedding, we will resume the process and get things going again. There was one that I was working on for a wedding for the middle of June, and because it was a private wedding, not a lot of people, I thought, okay, well, they've given me the text. I said, are things good? Do you want me to go ahead and do this? And yes, I'm going ahead with this one. So I started lettering the text and doing the artwork, and probably sometime in the middle of April or so, I got an email saying, we've decided to delay the wedding because even though it's a private wedding, it's still 60-ish people, and we want all of our friends with us. Does that affect the ketubah? Yes, it does. So actually, I continued doing the border art because that wasn't going to change and I needed to be busy and keep painting. And we worked it out that once we know the date of the wedding, when they reschedule it, I will re-letter the text. I actually have that here.
Yeah, show us.
So hopefully you can see this.
Yeah, nice.
This shows the size also of how big this is and some of the detail work and things like that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So basically,
Oh, it was done.
this is done. The text was done. So when we have the new date, I will letter a brand new text and I will cut this one out, following all the little lines and things like that, and re-letter a new one and put the new one in place like a puzzle piece.
Oh, nice.
And if there are any lines that show, that will add to the story of the wedding.
Totally. Artists are nothing if they're not creative problem solvers.
We have to solve problems, definitely. So it was a challenge. And once we figured out what to do, I figured, no problem. We've got this worked out. So I will be able to do that. And just waiting to hear from them when they reschedule the wedding.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that I think, if I think about putting myself in the bride's shoes, all the logistics, or the groom partners, whatever it may be, all the logistics that they're thinking through when they make that decision. Okay, we've got to shift, we got to contact the guests. Probably many of them don't realize, oh, right, like the ketubah is very specific. So
right.
I'm sure
so I completed the artwork and it's ready and waiting. And once we know to re-letter the text, I will re-letter the text. And as I said, I'll cut it out and pop in a new puzzle piece.
Smart.
It will work.
Amazing. I just want to check in on any questions. I've got a couple more that I'd love to ask you, but do we have any other questions?
One question that we have is, has this time made you think about not really investing so much time in the finished text as you go forward?
Interesting.
I'm sorry, can you explain that again?
Yes, so post-pandemic, as you're putting text together in a ketubah, do you think that you'll change your process to not put as much time and energy into writing the text, just in case something happens?
No, I feel there are many people who do text using computer fonts. My texts are all hand lettered. And so they're going to take time and they're going to take my energy and effort laying them out, making sure they all fit. I'm going to hand letter carefully. I'm not going to be rushing through anything, and I'm not going to try to, basically not going to try to leave gaps or anything like that. If I were to leave a space for the date, there are some, I mean, I have a printed form that I have done where I can fill in information. That some people choose to use that, but then I'm filling in all of the information. If I'm doing a hand lettered text, I don't know if a date change would affect the spacing, and I'd like it to look even. If somebody has a date that's the 1st of Elul, that's just a few little bits of lettering. If it changes with a year, that changes a whole year. If somebody then has something that's the 29th of Cheshvan, that's a lot more lettering. And so to change something and to try to spread or fit things into bigger or smaller spaces, I would just rather wait to know for sure what I'm doing. This is really the first time that I've had a date change. So for me, and preparing for this, I went through a lot of photo images and a lot of ketubah images and said, wow, I didn't realize how many I had actually done over the years. I would say well over 100. And that kind of surprised me. So if I look at the fact that I've done that many Ketubot and have had one date change so far, I think I'm okay, and I'm not going to worry about changing that process. I think just my experience of having been able to figure size and space and lay them out over the years has gotten easier. So I'm a little bit more accurate with the layout, and it takes me less tries to get it to fit, which is a good thing. But I think I would still continue this process.
Sure. Soup to nuts, Julie, how long does it take for you to create your Ketubot?
That is a great question. Thank you. I actually do ask people when doing an original to please contact me 5 to 6 months before a wedding, because first of all, I'm working on more than one piece at a time. So while I'm waiting for approval on one thing, I can be working on something else. But it's also, once I get everything approved and I sit down and I start text to painting to finish, it's usually a couple of solid weeks of work. Depending on how much detail, 2 to 3 weeks, usually 2. And it's from the actual finish working that final piece. But the process is really, you know, at least 4 to 5 months. I like to ask 5 to 6, but sometimes we don't get the benefit of that timing. And there's things that do take time. When I'm doing the real gold, that's actually a 2-day process, because you have to put down the gold size and let it dry and apply the gold the next day, things like that. So there are definite steps, but yeah, I would say from start to finish, several months, but from the actual final piece, a couple of solid weeks.
Awesome. So obviously Ketubot are really commissioned based. They're really personal pieces. How does one go about either purchasing your work or commissioning you?
To commission me for a piece, just reach out to me and I'll definitely find a way to fit it into my calendar. The one that I will share a story from many years ago, somebody reached me about a week before their wedding and said, "Can you create a Ketubah for me?"
Oh my goodness.
And I thought they were teasing and I started laughing.
Oh.
And it was serious. And I explained that this takes a lot more than just throwing it together. And we came up with an idea that this was another one actually that everybody at the wedding signed. And we came up with an idea that I took a piece of artboard, drew lines for all of the signatures, and took a photocopy of their text and stuck it at the top. And they had everybody sign that at the wedding. And then I created the art around that afterwards. And it was probably kind of scary because I couldn't mess up. It was already signed.
Wow.
But it was fun. And I forgot about that story. That was very cool. But yeah,
cool.
Just reach me via my website, Facebook, Instagram, phone call, have a friend contact me. I'm here and I'm available, and I would love to try to work out a schedule for whoever wants to work with me.
Amazing. And you don't just personalize Ketubot, right? So you've done other type of commissions.
I have. As a matter of fact, I did a commission for Northern Hills Synagogue. It's up in the lobby right now.
Awesome.
I've done commissions for people for anniversaries. I did an anniversary piece that was not a Ketubah, because I've done anniversary Ketubot as well, but it was just a piece that had a meaning to them. And then in the border going around the art, there was some lines that were from the Ketubah about the wedding, but it was a personalized piece that was commissioned and really, really special. I've had kids commission a piece for their parents as an anniversary gift.
That's beautiful.
I had somebody commission something for the birth of a child, and that was really special with a special blessing and everything. So yeah, I love doing work that brings someone's ideas to fruition, and I love seeing their ideas come to life through my artwork, which is really neat.
That's awesome. I think we have a couple more questions pop up.
We
Okay.
need one more question, and that is about your inspirations. Where do you get your inspirations from? Is it, especially the Jewish pieces, is it biblical? Is it medieval? Is it modern? Or
interesting.
Where is it from?
Okay. I think when I'm doing a Ketubah, obviously a lot of the inspiration comes from the conversation with the couple, because there are things that will have meaning to them. Sometimes it's items of Judaica. I've done some that include like a special family Kiddush cup heirloom or something special. I did one that was a bookcase filled with special, excuse me, I'm sorry, special Seder plate and prayer books and dreidels and things that they had collected. And it was a bookcase that surrounded the text in the middle. So those were items that inspired the work. And but in terms of when I'm creating a piece that is of my own inspiration, and I've done that as well, I use quotes, I use prayers. I'll go to the Torah, the Talmud, something from Psalms or from one of the blessings, and I'll find a quote that speaks to me. And I think that was when you asked about what makes me a Jewish artist. I think it's the way I think, and I'm always looking at things as, oh, that would make an interesting art piece. Oh, that would be really cool. Pomegranates, that's a really cool thing. They're so beautiful and colorful, and they have Jewish significance. And the idea of the seeds representing, in a sense, the 613 mitzvot. So the way I think does pull me back into being that Judaic artist. And it does inspire a lot of the work that I do, be it from quotes, elements of nature, definitely color. I love working with color. And so if it's things that I'm creating on my own, I'm going to find a way to incorporate things that have meaning to me, that have meaning to the words I use, the things I see in life around me, and find a way to pull that into a piece of art. I have another piece that I finished not that long ago, and it was based on the burning bush. And saw something, again, like it being inspired and challenged to do different things. That was a triptych. And I actually have that here.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
And this triptych piece based on the burning bush, and the Hebrew gold foil going up the center of it, the lettering, and for I will be with you. And that just basically inspired it. But I've got all the little sheep and the shepherd issues.
Beautiful.
So that one was one that I did of my own, not commission work, and decided I found something that I felt I wanted to express a piece about the burning bush. And I found the right quote that had the way to express it for me. And I started doing my own sketches until I got to one that I could approve.
Oh, I love that. Oh, you were your own client.
I was my own client. I had to approve my own design.
That's so great. Too fun. Did I see another question pop up? It's hard for me to tell.
We do not have another question.
Okay. Well, great. So Julie, we're winding down. There's a couple more questions I'd like to ask you, and then would love to share a couple of upcoming sessions with everyone. And I think we're going to end with an appropriate Shana Tova and a shofar blessing. But what's something you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to being able to be with people again, being able to share time and ourselves, being with family, and having us all feel that we can connect again, because that is part of who I am, is wanting to be with people and share myself, my soul, my art, my time with friends, and being able to connect again. So I am looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to ways to have my art be back in a normal time frame, not worried about scheduling, and just looking forward to the coming year that maybe we will start to see life in a new normal that will include the fact that we've had a chance to slow down and maybe include that and not go back to that crazy hustle bustle. And the world has taught us a little bit about slowing down, and maybe we can include that in picking things up a little bit, but not being so crazy.
I love that. Thank you. I know that you also want to leave us off with a blessing, but I'll hold on that first. I want to thank you so much for your time this morning, you, Julie, personally, and everyone. It's so nice to get this opportunity to be together and come with you into your studio space in the way that we can during this time, and that's virtually. Ish has a couple of other programs and additions that we'll be working on with community partners. Our next upcoming will be next month in October, and in celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day, we are going to be speaking with and actually offering a workshop with Emily Bowen-Cohen, who's an artist out of LA, and she is a member of two tribes. She is Native American and Jewish, and so she is going to be sharing her unique story of identity formation and how growing up as a young woman in America who is Native and Jewish, spending time in Oklahoma and then in New Jersey, how that shaped her as a person. So it will be a little bit of an interactive session. If you're interested in that type of work, or if you know any young person or person really of any age who's really interested in Jewish identity and how our traditions and heritage shape who we are as people, that'll be a really interesting session. And then later in November, a session with Holocaust and Humanities Center featuring a new artist collective, a group of young artists, emerging artists in Cincinnati, Hebrew Union College students opening the Ark. They're going to be sharing their woodwork. They're working on a project to recreate a Torah Ark that was destroyed in the Holocaust. Wow. So we will be hosting that program on Kristallnacht in November. This was amazing. So excited to be kind of setting the tone this week as we look to the upcoming holidays and Rosh Hashanah. So Julie, I would love to ask you to leave us with a blessing, and then Sam, if you would indulge us with the blowing of a shofar. I think that would be such a beautiful way to end our time together.
Great, I would love to do that. I do have a blessing for all of us together, and it is, may we be safe, may we be well, may we be together. And thinking of the Rashi quote that I spoke about for the piece that I did for Northern Hills recently, it's based on the quote, "The world exists for the sake of kindness." Mm-hmm. And as we enter into 5781, may we be kind, may we see more kindness in the world, and may this be a reality, not just a hope.
Amen. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Sam, will you send us off? Rabbi Shapra, will you send us off with a shofar blessing and blowing?
Yes. And Julie, would you be able to give me a tekiah call? You just say tekiah.
Okay, I can do that. You ready? Tekiah.
Shana Tova Umetuka to everyone. I'm going to stop share so we can see each other again. Such a wonderful time spent with you this morning. Julie, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful artwork with us and telling us more about your process as an artist.
Thank you.
I encourage everyone to visit your website, jspjudaic.com.
Yep.
Amazing. And if you're able, join us in the upcoming months as we feature and have conversations and interactive experiences with other Jewish artists working near and far. Shana Tova, everyone.